Hello everyone, welcome back to another new video, and today I will be showing you how I could have saved a completely losing endgame against a Grandmaster. In the following position, my opponent has just played knight to g3, and with 3 connected passed pawns for the exchange, a win seems guaranteed. However, that move was actually a blunder, because I can play the brilliant move rook to a5, attacking g5. If white now continues with e5, after a rook check on the 4th rank, white has to keep 3 pawns on the board in order to win, so knight to e4 is forced. But after the rook moves back, knight to c3 is met by rook to c5, when the rook will successfully force white's king off the 4th rank. Since the pawn in the middle, which is crucial to keep the pawn avalanche moving, is blocked by the king, white has no way to make progress. Advancing the a5 pawn is met by a rook check on f5, followed by rook to e5 winning the pawn on e6, so as a result, knight to f5 is played in the game, attempting to keep the pawn structure fluid. Now comes the key move that black must see, which I unfortunately missed, and that is king to h5. Black must use everything there is to prevent white from playing king to g4 and f4. Since knight to g7 check simply allows king to g6 then back to h5, white will have to play e5 as a last attempt to win, because king to e3 lets the rook attack the knight, and after knight to c5, attack it once again, winning the g-pawn this time. After e5 king to g6, white still cannot play a move like knight to d4 because the pin on the 4th rank will force white to abandon the g-pawn, and even though white can get the f and d pawns to the 5th rank, black can easily draw by checking white's king from behind. Knight to f8 check is the last try, and it may look like after king to f7 knight to d7 king to g6, white can now play e6 when rook takes g5 allows e7, winning the rook and the game. But this tactic is just an illusion, as black can play the in-between move rook to f5 check, then taking on g5 when the rook is safe. After f4 rook to b5 f5 check, black can safely give up the rook because white will have no pawns left, when it's a draw by insufficient material. Despite missing this opportunity, there was another chance to draw with the rook behind the g-pawn with rook to g2. Against e5 and e6, black can move the rook to the a-file to check horizontally, and with enough checking distance, white cannot approach the rook while staying close to the center. After knight to e5 check, the game can still be saved with king to h5, when g6 allows rook to g5 and white must give up the g6 pawn or the knight on e5. Needless to say, my opponent won the game easily after the pawn landed on f4, and probably used this as an example of how to advance connected passed pawns successfully after this game was played. If you want to see more brilliant chess tricks like this, be sure to like and subscribe for more, and I will see you all in my next video. Goodbye.